Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to this evening's board meeting. At this time, I'd like to start the meeting, and we'll start by rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Chambers, will you call roll, please?
Mr. Eastwood.
Here.
Ms. Pavlik.
Here.
Mr. Skidmore.
Here.
Mr. Ross.
Here.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Here.
Thank you.
Would someone like to make a motion for approval of the October 15th special joint meeting with the city and the November 5th board meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the October 15th and special meeting and meeting with the city, November 5th.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments or amendments to the minutes? Hearing none.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
Do any of the board members have any additions, removals, or modifications to the consent agenda this evening?
Number 13, I would request that we separate that out if we could.
Any other items?
I make a motion that we accept the agenda with item number 13 separated out.
Second?
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Sable?
Good evening. For our first agenda item, I think it might be next to Canavan, one of our most exciting items on the agenda. I know Dr. Kwolek just went in to welcome in our state championship boys soccer team. They'll be in here in a moment. I'd like to congratulate and commend all of our men's soccer players for your state championship title. I know this is I believe the first state championship title for our boys soccer program, and it's also the first state championship title for Medina City Schools in some time. Along with commending you for your accomplishments during game time on the field, I think it's important that we point out what kind of young men you are in representing Medina City Schools. You're not only outstanding athletes on the field, but you're a great representation of sportsmanship and also scholarship, which is why we're here. In addition, what I want to share with all of you is after you beat St. Ignatius for the second year in a row, I got an email from a St. Ignatius graduate and parent, and they emailed to commend all of you as Medina student athletes for your sportsmanship the last few years in the competition with St. Ignatius, and pointed out a few of you who, after the victory, the close victory, went to congratulate and console some St. Ignatius players before you started your celebration. I think that's an outstanding display of character on behalf of our school district. For myself, you make me very proud to be a Medina Bee. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Any of you want to say anything?
I'll say something. My name's Grayson Madden. I'm a senior for the Medina boys soccer team. I just want to say thank you, everyone, for your tremendous support throughout these past couple years of us advancing our playoff runs. Thank you. Better? Anyone else?
Just like to also talk about the guys up on that railing back there, our coaching staff. Thank you for instilling the skills, for instilling the spirit, for various challenges you've had throughout the year and years. But this is also a testimony to your impact on the lives of these young men. Thank you.
Just to add to what Mr. Eastwood said, several of us got to be down there to watch you guys play, and the last several of your games especially. And you guys just made us so proud as a community. And we just thank you so much for what you've done and your accomplishments. And Coach, what a great job you've done with the guys. And we thank you so much. Thank you.
I also have a comment directed at Coach Spelling and the kids. Congratulations. I know we talked a little bit after your rally, and you did a fantastic job this year. Just really proud of you and your staff. And to the kids, I want to say this is something that you guys earned, and nobody's ever going to take it away from you. You're going to have kids, you're going to have grandkids, and you're going to be able to tell the story of you guys winning a state championship. Cherish that for the rest of your lives, because you will never forget that moment. And so congratulations. It's something that doesn't happen every day. Be proud of that. Great job.
You all are more than welcome to join us for the whole meeting to celebrate. I have a feeling you've got other places you'd rather be, though. Thank you for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. It was an honor for you to come and join us at our Board of Education meeting this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to invite Mr. Condon up this evening for our monthly school presentation. We are fortunate to have Ella Canavan with us.
Thank you, Mr. Sable. Members of the board, thank you for having us here. That's a tough act to follow. That's a well-deserved accomplishment for those gentlemen. But I'm very proud to showcase our bell choir that we have at our building. So I have 7 fifth graders from Ella Canavan here that have been with bell choir since it started 3 years ago. 4 years ago, our music teacher, Mr. Brinker, came to me and said, the church that he belongs to is merging with another church, and the bell choir that they have is being disbanded. Sad story for their church, but was a benefit for our building because they were willing to donate their entire bell set and the tables to our building for him to have a bell choir at our building. So in addition to this case that's on the table, we have 2 other cases at Canavan, along with the tables that go with the bells, and then PTO purchased the foam cloths that they go on top of. So Mr. Brinker, starting 3 years ago, started with these 7 that they call themselves the originals in 3rd grade to do bell choir, and they continued it in 4th grade and now are doing it in 5th grade. In addition to them, we have 7 4th graders that are doing it, and we have 18 3rd graders that are doing it this year. So it is a phenomenal experience. These students, along with grades 3 and 4, meet with Mr. Brinker in the morning, each at a different day. Mr. Brinker meets with this group on Fridays at 7:30, so they are there bright and early at the building and do an hour practice. The other 2 groups meet at 7:30 on 2 other days during the course of the year. So I thought this would be a great opportunity for them to showcase. So I have 7 students here. They're here to kind of explain their experience, talk about what they like about bell choir, what they think are some challenges, and why they enjoy being on it, because they've done it now for 3 years. And then we have a little video to show you, along with they're going to do a little demonstration on the bells. So I'm going to turn it over to our kids and have them come on up, introduce themselves, and talk to you about bell choir. So come on up, guys. You can all stand up. We did practice a little bit of this too, so. All right. Well, I don't know about that.
My name is Michael Kessler, and I'm a 5th grader at Ella Canavan. I think that bell choir is awesome, and if you can have the chance to do bell choir, then you should take the chance. Bell choir is fun, and you can learn how to read music. Plus, it's not something that everyone can do. I joined bell choir when I was in 3rd grade. I joined bell choir because it was an opportunity that I knew I couldn't pass up on. Also, it isn't something everyone has the chance to do. The only part about bell choir that is kind of hard, that's not even that hard, is getting up in the morning. I enjoy really everything after getting up in the morning. You can request whatever music you want to. Plus, I enjoy just getting to play with the bells. I think that bell choir is an amazing thing to get a part of. Bell choir is really fun, and I'm super glad that I signed up. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Caden Majowski, and I am a 5th grader at Ella Canavan. I started bells because Mr. Brinker came up with it in 3rd grade, and it was the first time anyone could do it, and I thought it sounded like a lot of fun. I like how Mr. Brinker lets us mess around when we have a break, and then when we practice, we are focused. I think the hardest part about bells is playing a new bell for the first time and learning all the new music. It can also be hard to wake up early. I like bells because I think it helps with learning more music and how to play music. It lets us play music in a fun way. Bell choir will help you if you want to know how to read music. That will help you later on in middle school and high school if you want to play in band. It will also help you to just play any instruments you want to later on. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Leah Silsky, and I'm a 5th grader at Ella Canavan. When I joined bell choir in 3rd grade, I saw the form and I thought, well, it's nice to try something new for once. So I got a form and I loved it. Bell choir is awesome. The thing I enjoy most of bell choir is just the jokes, and if we take a break, then Mr. Brinker will let us goof around, but when it is time to work, then we work. I think the hardest thing about bell choir is getting up in the morning, but when we get there, then we are good and woken up from the bells ringing in our ears. I think the most fun part of bell choir is the things that we do. Mr. Brinker makes it more fun. We joke around and we laugh and tell stories, but when it is time to go to work, we are ready. Thank you for listening.
My name is Ava Reed, and I'm a 5th grader at Ella Canavan. Why I joined bell choir. I love music, and when a chance comes up, I take it, especially with Mr. Brinker. I want to take it. And bell choir was new, so I thought it would be fun. What do I enjoy about bell choir? The songs are fun and also nice and smooth, and we can be ourselves, and that's what makes it enjoyable. We get to learn more about music, and we learn to read music and play music at the same time. What is the hardest thing about bell choir? Waking up early to get there at 7:30 a.m. and staying on the beat, not speeding up. And I've been doing this for 3 years, and I love everything about it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Isabel Honigman. I am in 5th grade at Ella Canavan.
I joined bell choir because it sounded fun and I wanted to try something new. I enjoy bell choir because of the fun songs, the jokes, and the fun stories Mr. Brinker tells us. I think the hardest thing about bell choir is waking up early in the morning. Bell choir is amazing and fun, and the songs, jokes, and stories, and reading the music and how we sounded at the end of the song. I wish I could do it next year because I think it's so fun. Thank you for your time.
Hi, I'm Olivia Louie and I'm in 5th grade. Why did I join bell choir? I love the sound of music. It's like my second language. So I wanted to try something new and see if I liked it. I've been playing since 3rd grade and it's been really fun. I like it a lot. What do I like about bell choir? Everything. I enjoy the music. Also Mr. Brinker. He makes the best jokes and in between it's really enjoyable. It's really fun to play the bells also. What's the hardest thing about bell choir? I'm definitely not a morning person, so waking up in the morning is a struggle. Only because I have to wake up at 6:30 to be there at 7:30, but I guess it depends on how long it takes for someone to get ready in the morning. The songs are very surprising when you first hear them, but that's a good thing. I've definitely been able to read music way better because of bell choir. If I could join next year, I would. Thanks for listening.
Hi, my name is Tyler Reed. I'm a 5th grader at Cannon Elementary. I started bell choir in 3rd grade because I wanted to try something new. Bell choir is great because we can tell jokes and stories. But when it's time to focus, we focus. There's a very friendly feeling to bell choir, considering there's only 7 of us kids. That means there's always enough time for Mr. Bricker to help us if needed. Mr. Bricker is a great teacher. He really helps you learn, and not just to play music, but to read too. There's only 2 things harder with bell choir. First, getting up in the morning, and second, anticipating and knowing when to play. Bell choir is a fantastic club, and I'm glad I joined in 3rd grade through 5th. Thank you for your time.
That one, yeah. Okay. So as you can tell, first of all, I think the mornings are very difficult for us to get there by 7:30. And what is really special too is how many of you are in Glee Club? So not only are they getting there on Fridays at 7:30, they're also getting there on another day of the week at 7:30 in the morning to do Glee Club. So these are students that are very active because 5 days a week, Mr. Brinker has some sort of club going in the morning that keeps our kids engaged in music and another opportunity for our students, which is what our building truly embraces. So what we're going to do now is kind of demonstrate the bells. So they are going to go into the case, get out a bell. Hopefully they remember which note we had discussed them picking out this afternoon. And they're going to demonstrate a major and minor chord for you. And then Avery and Olivia are going to come and talk to you first about how they play and how they stop the sound.
When you play the bell, you want to have a good flick on the wrist to make the sound, but you want to hold it up high, but not too high because you want the sound to go everywhere. Oh, good.
Okay, and so when you want to stop it, you want to stop it on your chest. And make sure you're not wearing like a necklace or a zipper because it will cling against the bell.
All right, so next, because I am not Mr. Brinker and I cannot conduct as well as he can, they are going to demonstrate a major and minor chord because I can at least accomplish that by not having to worry about conducting or anything. So we're supposed to do a major chord, and they're going to go in order, they'll put it together, and then they'll demonstrate a shake. So go ahead. And you can do the shake. All right, and now we'll do the minor chord. Okay, great. All right, great job, guys. You can put those back for now. Thank you. All right, and to conclude our presentation, I have up on the screen, sorry, Ryan, just some of the upcoming performances that are happening at Canavan. We have Glee Club coming up on the 11th, Bell Choir on the 12th, and then Theater Club is doing a Christmas Carol on the 19th. We have performances during the day. Bell Choir is at Canavan because we don't like to carry all the tables and transport all the tables and all the bells. I was lucky to get this one out of the building for today. Glee Club will be at Root, and then Theater Club will also be at Canavan. But you're welcome to attend. These are fabulous performances, and the kids have worked very hard to have these performances ready to go for the holiday season. So To conclude, we're going to show a quick video of a song that they have ready to go for an upcoming performance. So that's just one piece that they will perform. And as you can see, with them them only having 7, multiple of we're having 2 bells at a time. So it takes a lot to master those skills. And unfortunately, the camera angle that I had blocked Avery, but Avery was there. I had to make sure I acknowledged her because she pointed out that I had blocked her because she was right behind Mr. Brinker, but she was there. So this is a great opportunity for our students, and I think it just builds the music program that we have in this district, and I think it furthers along our kids in that advancement. So thank you for allowing us to come. Happy holidays and happy Thanksgiving. And the kids said if you have any questions, they'd be happy to answer. So thank you.
Thank you all for coming tonight. That was very enjoyable. I do have one question. Sometimes when you perform, you wear gloves. Why do you wear gloves?
So it doesn't like ruin the bell's sound.
Okay, thank you very much. And I also noticed that a lot of you have a hard time getting up in the morning. But you know what? That's going to be great for you next year when you go the route, because school starts at 7:30, so you'll be all ready. Right? And please tell Mr. Brinker that we missed him here tonight. But Mr. Conda did a good job.
I'd like to say thank you, too, for coming up and presenting today. You guys did a fantastic job. Everything from your presentation there at the microphone to the music. And I was taking some notes. It seemed like the consistent thing of the challenge of waking up was there throughout, but also was having fun. And knowing that when it's time to work, you went to work, right? And when you look at where you started 3 years ago, where you are, and you're the originals, right? Don't ever stop being original. You guys did great.
I just had a question for Brian. Is this unique to Canavan, or are other buildings in the district? you know.
As far as I know, I think we are the only ones that have the bell choir because, I mean, I believe the bells are very expensive, and we inherited them from the church having to merge. So that's how
Great
we were able
job.
to have the program.
Fantastic initiative, and great job, kids. Did great.
Thank you, Ella Canavan, for joining us this evening. Excited for your upcoming concert. You guys are welcome to leave as well unless you want to stay. Next item for presentation this evening is in regards to the Medina Community Recreation Center expansion. But before we have Mike present, a couple updates that I want to provide the board from our last work session where we had the joint meeting with the city and had the opportunity to discuss multiple topics, including the joint operating agreement and the rec center expansion. I wanted the board to know that we have been taking a proactive approach with the city in terms of moving forward with discussions regarding the joint operating agreement. Since we met in the work session with the city, there has been a rec center advisory committee meeting. At that meeting, Chris and Joe had the opportunity to present to the advisory committee some of the things that we were interested in exploring regarding the JOA and the school district, as well as introducing some of the usage calendars per the JOA, which I think, if they haven't already, are going to be presented to Mike very soon. So we're in the process of having discussions regarding the percentage split with the rec center, as well as our district usage of the rec center moving forward. I do anticipate ongoing discussions with some sort of recommendation coming out of that rec center advisory committee that, per the JOA, would be coming to the city as well to the district. In addition, I'd like to thank Mayor Hanwell. I know him and I have met several times to discuss the rec center and the joint operating agreement. We're very fortunate to have such a facility within our community that benefits all of our community members as well as the district. And as we discussed at our joint meeting, it's these types of collaborative relationships which really helps not only our district be great, but our community be great as well. And one thing that came to my attention in working through this process, and with Joe Magnacca on board as interim business manager for us right now, he has some experience at Wadsworth of opening up a community recreation center collaboration with the district. And some of the things that we've done with the city in terms of a rec center, that we are leaders in the area in terms of having that type of collaborative relationship in regards to us being one of the first districts to really take on that kind of initiative. And I know Jim Shields has told me that we've been contacted multiple times with requests from other districts and other cities for a copy of our joint operating agreement, and how the heck do we and the city make that all work? So that, I think that's a very good thing. I do want to make sure you know that we are being collaborative in our approach between the district and the city, and I do foresee us moving in a more positive direction. Not that it was negative to begin with, but when an agreement's been in place for as long as it has, I think it's time to have some discussion to address concerns from both the school district and the city so we can make sure we continue to have a positive relationship moving forward. I met with Mike last week after our meeting so we could sit down and discuss the expansion, which is another topic related to the rec center. Just to give a little bit of background, the rec center city was interested in doing an expansion to the rec center to offer more opportunities for patrons within the facility. And we were originally approached a couple of years ago. At that time, we were looking at an upcoming levy going on the ballot, and I felt like it was not a good timing to start discussing an expansion for the district. And of course, my priority has to be and is what's best for Medina City Schools. I therefore didn't make a recommendation at that time to move forward with the expansion, and that was with the support of the mayor and the city, very understanding of the importance of passing our operating levy. Well, we're in a fortunate position now where we've received the support of our community and we've passed our operating levy, and as promised, I would like to revisit the issue of the rec center expansion. And I'm hoping to be able to make some sort of a recommendation to the board regarding moving forward with an expansion in the not too distant future. But before we move in that direction, I want to make sure that our Board of Education is well informed. And at this time, I want to invite Mike up, Director of the Recreation Center. And he's going to share a similar, if not the same, presentation that he recently gave to the City Council members at one of their meetings regarding the potential rec center expansion.
Thank you, Superintendent Sable, and thank you for the board for letting us present tonight. I appreciate the opportunity. With me tonight is Kurt Gehrig, our Recreation Supervisor in charge of all the equipment for the rec center. He would be the person purchasing the equipment, picking out what we'll be using for the new fitness area, if approved. Bob Arnold, our architect, of course, on the project. We've been talking with him since 2016. And, of course, Mayor Hanwell, who's obviously in support of the project, or we wouldn't be here. So in regards to the project itself, Kurt and I have actually been talking about it since, am I too close to this? Are you guys, sound wise? Okay. Since like 2015. With the ideas in mind and looking at the carry forward and seeing how it was building. And, and then 2016, we actually introduced it to the Rec Advisory Board starting in that 2016, 17, and 18. And now we're almost into 19. So it's not a rushed project. People are like, well, where did this come from? And it's been around a long time. We've talked about it with a lot of different people, a lot of different board members, Rec Advisory Board members that have changed too. It's not a knee-jerk kind of, hey, we're going to do this project and spend a lot of money. This is a 2017 PowerPoint that I put together just as a quick reference. This isn't exact, and these things were just kind of thrown together in pictures that I had and taken pictures during the time span of this project discussions. So this first picture here is the front of the rec center. So as you enter, walk onto the front sidewalk and the front doors, this is to your right, and this is our full fitness room windows. There's 5 windows around the front. And then that sidewall that you see there, oh, sorry, I do have a pointer here. Thanks, Ryan. Sidewall there is actually of the pool wall. So go ahead to the next screen for me. Oh, sorry, I got this. So that's an overhead of what it would look like. Of course, it's a Google Maps and just kind of drew it in of what the fitness room would look like. It is a 4,836 square foot area. The little box on the back, that square, is a 500 square foot area used specifically for equipment repair. So right now, just to give you an idea of how this works, that room there, Kurt, when he has to fix a treadmill, which is 400 pounds, he disassembles it, takes it to the elevator, up the elevator, through the storage room into the back where we have his repair shop. That room on the back there will be so he can take the equipment directly off the floor into that room and repair it. He repairs all the machines. Just to give you an idea of how much tedious, just to do something like one treadmill out of 15 and all the other 75 pieces of cardio equipment we have. So that's what that would look like there. And then this is, sorry, did I miss? Oh, okay, that's just a larger view of it. And then this is an overall view of the facility itself at 106 square feet, plus the addition puts it at about 112 or 111. So as you can see there, this is our existing fitness room here and here. This is the track. and this is the addition that we'd be adding on. So it's about 80% of the size of the current fitness room, which is a huge improvement. You know, and the idea of the fitness room, just to bring you up to speed on all of it, is we do counts every hour on the hour. So 9:30, 10:30, 11:30 throughout the whole day, every day of the week that we're open. And the fitness room is a widely used area, the most widely used area of all of it. Counts wise, it's just, you know, always the most busy all day. Whenever you go in there, the equipments are always, it's always being used. So ideally, that's the area we want to expand and add on to. And statistically, other facilities that have done improvements in the past have improved their fitness room. One of the facilities added 14,000 square feet to their facility at $4 million, just to give you an idea. So moving a little forward here, this is a design of the project. So when you're talking about the area here, that was the original plan back in 2016. 2017, we realized we rolled enough carry forward to actually reach a larger portion. So it helped us to wait a little longer. We realized we had more money to do this addition, so it's one big area. What will change in the current fitness room, these are still the same exact windows, and this wall will stay the same. We're adding this wall, and then this small room on the back. This will be a double doors that go into the room to keep it separate. So sound, noise, weights dropping. Right now, if you've been in the rec center, you notice whenever somebody's up on the balcony, they drop a weight, it's really loud and it echoes through the fitness room. The idea is to build this room and move all of that free weight equipment into this fitness area, with additional equipment totaling somewhere between $80,000 to $100,000, all paid for by city funds. So another thing we want to emphasize, this is not a capital improvement project. We say it all the time. Just want to make sure everybody understands this is funds that the city has saved up through the budget through the years, and that is the funds paying for this room and all the equipment and the utilities for the next 35 years, depending. So it's a big project, and it's money that the patrons have put in. This is saved budget. So we've done things over the years that have saved that carry forward. We actually had to cut a full-time position back in 2000, I believe it was 12. And over that time span, that saved us $800,000 of that carry forward just by cutting a full-time staff member. We also cut the cafe out. That was $45,000 a year for 10 years. That would save $450,000. So just to give you an idea how the carry forward built, the rest of it was built on, you know, programs did well, memberships did well. We had a, you know, $2.8 million budget, and we didn't reach the $2 million in spending. Then that money rolled into a carry forward account to do exactly projects like this. Ideally, we'd like to keep $1 million in that account for operations. We know back in 2022, our debt service for the building will be paid off, and 0.5% of the income tax, which is about $500,000, is earmarked to go back to the general fund for the city. So we'll be operating on under 2% of the income tax, which is about $190,000. The rest of it's all generated by memberships, revenues, and programs. Large facilities, look at Fairview Park, they're almost 100% subsidized by the city. They don't have to make a dime in revenues. So that just gives you an idea of how well this rec center does. And because of the partnership, if it wasn't for the partnership, this would not have been possible. Absolutely not. So so that's what the new area is going to look like at 4,300, like I said, 4,836 square feet. This is an a side view drawing for it that Bob put together. I'm going to let him go through that in a minute, just to give you an idea of this. Oh, sorry, jumping through. So this is the area we're looking at here. This is once again a sidewall for the pools, and this is the existing fitness room. This wall here existing. So just going to scroll through a page. This is just a kind of side drawing of it, what the windows will look like. We're actually going to put 3 windows on again, so it'll be an L now instead of a giant curve. So it'll be an L in front. Ellie, our gardener, she's also our fitness room attendant. She's fantastic. She did the garden out front where the mulch area is. She plants all the plants and everything. She's already requested to have, sorry, I flew right through all that. She already requested the front L so she can plant a bunch of plants in front of the window and take care of that. She does a great job right there. Thank you. So this is a picture of what it looked like. Just like I said, just kind of threw it together with the windows, and that's what it'll look like from the side. We'll still have a exit door here, fire exit door, and then a fire exit door here on the outside. So, and this is the roof, the existing roof. The new roof line will be a flat roof like the existing flat roofs, and slope towards the, of course, towards the goalie area out on this side. So I'm going to give Bob an opportunity just to kind of go through this. Over the last few years, the project price has increased. Since last year, it's gone up 9.5%. So it's about $70,000 to $75,000 more that we'll spend on it, but it's still in our price range. It's about a $626,000 project right now, but it hasn't been bid yet. Could be higher, could be lower, probably higher. And then you add in the equipment and the cost of the flooring, stuff like that. So the equipment alone, like I said, 80 to 100. So we're going to keep the project under $800,000 and have 4,800 more square feet of fitness area. Okay. Just to give you an idea too, I know we talk about usage and stuff. The schools, if you ever are at the rec center, you know, valid user, Ron and Valerie are always there. 2:30, as soon as the school lets out, the kids walk all the way around the building and come through our front door that are students, and they use that. And we can see the numbers double in the fitness room, quadruple probably times 10 for the field house. So, you know, it is highly used by students, even though they are members by that time and coming into the facility. A lot of people do will and use the, you know, fitness room itself. And then getting back to, you know, it wasn't just a whim. The schools actually made a great suggestion last year of doing a survey, 850 respondents in 2 weeks from the rec center. And of those 850 respondents, 73% all want the new functional training and new fitness room. The people that didn't want or said that they probably wouldn't use it were mostly seniors. So just give you an idea. All right, I'm going to let Bob break in on this real quick. And if you have any questions and stuff for us, that'd be great. And Bob.
Thank you. Bob Arnold with Arnold Architectural Strategies. And let me just back up here to the floor plan real quick. I wanted to show you something on this floor plan because you see the curve on the existing building. One of the things that I felt was important was to keep the character of the building with the new addition. And so that you'll see the back wall is curved to pretty much match that, follow the profile. And just to go out straight and try to come off with put a square building back there just wasn't in character. And I just really feel that that's very, very important because it just would look out of place on the building. So these lines here actually represent trusses that will go through the building to hold the roof up. You can see another one right along the wall and another one on that wall. So we have 4 major trusses in there, and then there will be bar joists in between, which you can see here. This is what's called a bar joist, and it holds up the roof. And at one point when we first started this, we wanted to even keep the metal roof intact also. So we actually tried to come from here up to the top, up to here somewhere with a metal roof, and it just got to be way too disruptive to the existing building, existing room, and so forth. So we came up with an alternative. And that means that the water from that roof will come down to a trough that we have here in between. So there's a little space here between the old building and the new building. And this roof is up higher because one of the things that became very important, and Kurt kept hitting me over the head on it, was to make sure that they had 14-foot clear in here. Because he's got stuff that he wants in there that the users will want to exercise on and needed the 14-foot clear. So I was able to keep that and put a slope truss in there, run the water down here, and then it'll run off into either the gully there or into the storm system. So, but anyway, the gym addition, this addition here is basically a big room that you're going to have all kinds of things in there to be able to do. And then you can see the maintenance room in the back. Again, this is the character we were trying to keep, and you can see even though this goes up metal roof right here, and we have more of a fascia along there, that what I'm calling a metal fascia that will pick up that character and keep it intact. So it was very important to, again, make it blend in, but also from a cost standpoint, you heard Mike say that over the last year, it's gone up about 9.6%, I think it has, as of 3 months ago anyway. And it's very important to me to try to keep this building as economical as we can. So we're moving forward with it that way. But at the same time, with a lot of things that are going on in the economy, especially in the construction field, there are products that are getting more expensive, and they've gotten more expensive over the last year. And any of you in construction know that. You're paying more for materials and labor than you were a year ago. So, But anyway, fortunately, the budget will handle that, and we'll be able to move forward. So we're planning on going out to bid in the spring and have it out for bid. So, and under construction this next summer. So, with the help of everybody around us. So, anything else? Oh yeah, let me mention one thing for you too. Go back here, the floor plan. In any building like this, you have a mechanical system, you have a plumbing system, and you have an electrical system. And fortunately, we're able to pull from up here, up on the far end of the fitness center here, there's mechanical rooms right in the middle of the building where we're going to be able to get the power, mainly because we reduced the power usage in the building over several years ago. So we'll get new power. We'll run the power down along here to a panel that'll be in this back room. And there'll be obviously lights in the mechanical system. The mechanical system is planned to be a rooftop on top of this building, and it will come in and it will heat and cool the whole building, I should say the whole new space. To try to tap into what was done out here for the building, it was pushing it beyond its limits, and so we didn't want to do that and keep it. We wanted to keep it separate. Plumbing, really the only plumbing that we have is a spittoon and a electric water cooler back here, and then a sink in the back. So that's really about all the water that there is. So that it? All right.
I think that's it. Thank you.
You get the questions.
Me too. So questions-wise, of course, even if the school board were approved in December, you recommend and they approve, we still need to go to finance with the city and council. So it's not a done deal on your end either. There's a lot of work still to be done and a lot of things to discuss. So, any questions?
Just thanks, Mike and Mr. Arnold. Thank you, and thank you, Kurt and the mayor, for coming out. Just a question. So, why do you think this is good for the rec center, and why do you think it's good for the community?
Well, twofold. One, it's a big reason for retention. We know average-wise for recreation facilities, which has not happened to us in the first 5 years, they see a decline. We've actually been steady memberships between 8,500 and 9,000. But we've done projects. We redid the field house floor. We entered and built the balcony project and moved the free weight area, which made the fitness room larger because it used to be smaller. There were serpentine glass walls that went through it. We took all those out and made the whole area bigger and got more equipment. So those changes, even next year, we're talking about refitting all of the selectorized machines in the fitness room with new equipment through our budget, not through the capital improvement, which could be another $60,000 to $80,000 just revamping those with new stuff. Right now, we're on the existing treadmills that 16 years ago we bought, and Kurt keeps fixing them, and they're fantastic. But we did order 4 brand new curve trainers, non-electric ones, this year, and they're in the fitness room now. And 2 new stair mills, which are a $10,000 purchase. So we upgrade constantly, even though people don't see it. They don't always like the new machines until they get used to them. But once they do, it tends to draw more people. So ideally, back to the question, was retention, and of course to draw new members. Ideally retention, though. We want to keep members. We promised them something. We had them take the survey, and we feel this is a good way to keep members too. So good.
Mike, what did you say the average? I heard you say 8,500 to 10,000 patrons. Is that
8,500 to 9,000
to 9,000 patrons? You said the surveys returned was 850?
850 respondents in 2 weeks.
So that's only 10%.
Well, we only gave them 2 weeks.
Okay.
We gave more time, they would have. It's actually really high, 850 people.
I'm just not sure that's a good snapshot or a good count of the interest.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, I want to say thank you. This has been a long time in the process, so a lot of the stuff we've seen again and again. Looking at this, and I want to say thank you to the city, for the collaboration. It is a special thing here in Medina, not to be taken for granted. One of the things that I really like about your design is that utility room, and a lot of people may not really see the importance of that, but when you're thinking about liability, when you're thinking about productivity and efficiency. Every time somebody's got to go through that process you described earlier, it has potential injury all over it. And not only will this be far more efficient, but our staff, taking care of our staff, getting things fixed sooner for the patrons. I really think that's a pretty big deal, and I appreciate that aspect of what you're doing there.
Thank you.
I appreciate the presentation too, Mike. My question would be, as far as we've heard the benefits, but what would the cost be for the district to do this project or ongoing?
And ideally, that question's came up before, and of course, and nothing up front. Custodial wise, we clean the fitness room now as we do. The electrical is going to be on the rec center also. We're going to take care of our full utilities. That's gas, sewer, water. We estimated, I think we worked with John Burkhart, and their estimate of about $1.47 a square foot. So at 4,800 square feet for the year, that's about $7,000 that the rec center is going to be funding for that. We would like to see, as it will become square footage of the building in the lease, going from 106 to 105 or 111 or whatever it is. Obviously, in the future, as part of capital expenses, because taking on the roof or anything else, we're obviously going to have warranties on the HVAC. I think probably 10 to 15 years, a fair assumption. The roof could be 20 plus, just depends, or 15 to 20. And from that point on, we would expect that, at least hope that the school would consider the capital improvement for any repairs beyond that, broken windows, stuff like that, that we could split the costs.
I appreciate that. I know when I got on the board, I was kind of surprised to realize that we do spend as much as we spend with the rec center, and I think recently it's been as high as almost $400,000 a year when you look at the labor and the capital expenditures and the utilities, because we're still 52.5%, and I know that's something that might need to be looked at as part of this process, and I don't know where the schools are with the city with that. I know our use has not been exactly 52.5%, which is similar in the agreement with that. But those are reasonable things you've offered, and I hope, I know there's been some talk, we want to make sure that we maintain. I know in the last, we had a really good joint meeting, I don't think it was televised, but we talked about the roof at that point, and there's 1.2 that needs to be spent on the roof right now. And we have quite a bit set aside in the capital improvement fund. We were also talking about increasing possibly the contributions of the city and the schools to that capital improvement fund just in the short term, because as Mr. Durham mentioned at that meeting, that originally it was say 60, then it went to 90, then it went to whatever those numbers were,
30,
graded
60,
up, and now we're at 100. We were making up there for a couple years, close to 130, but I think we're back to 100 now.
Yes.
So, we do have ongoing costs with the roof and so forth, but I think it's a great project. I hope we can work out some of those numbers to make them a little bit, I think, more fair for the district at that point. But we do appreciate the relationship, and it looks like an exciting plan. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, thank you again. I know that this has been a long time, and we spent a lot of time at the last work session. I thank everyone that came to the city, thank them for their time, as well as putting your presentation together here today. I know we initially had questions about the utilities, and that has all been addressed, and those answers provided to us, so thank you for that. I think it's important for everyone to remember too that the city's funding the project, but it will be the school board's building.
Yes.
So that is why the maintenance and that capital fund is split, because it's the city's has a lease to use that building, but it will be the district's building paid for by the city.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Anything else? That's it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chambers?
I'd just like to thank the Medina Community Recreation Center for coming between me and the state basketball championship and the Bells, because usually it's me following, and really finance is a downer for the rest of the group here. So I like it though. Thank you. To start off, the district bank balance decreased by $1.36 million in October, down to $85.77 million. This is $1.09 million above last year at this time. The general fund revenues were below last October by $637,000. Real property, public utility, personal property accounted for this decrease. Part of the reason is because of the tax incentives that were given out by the federal government. The property tax payments in the first half were much higher than anticipated, and this led to lower taxes coming in the second half. General fund expenditures were above last October by $2.5 million. Personal services, benefits, supplies, and other funds expenditures contributed to this increase. This all, though, relates to the strategic plan that was implemented last year, and we also have 7 pays as compared to 6 last year at this time. The sales tax fund balance is up to $3.6 million. The district spent approximately $698,000 in the month of October. We also received our third quarter taxes for sales tax, and that was, I believe, $890,000. The Recreation Center Capital Fund balance is at $581,000. The district was reimbursed $13,661 for the projects and spent $9,309. The district received $176,000 in investment income for October. The total collected for the current fiscal year is approximately $114,000 below all of 2017. We are at 51% of what was collected in 2018. The district currently has general fund true days cash estimated to be 274.68 days. Any questions?
Where was that interest level again as compared to all of 2017? Or you had given us something there that caught me off guard.
Compared to all of 2018, we're at 51% after 4 months.
Thank you.
So. Thank you.
It's time for board communications. We were just recently at OSBA, so if you'd like to share your experiences at that from last week, I think that would be welcome.
I had a chance to sit in on a handful of those sessions, and one I did not expect to get into, but I found myself at was the unintended privilege, and one that was about diversity. And I'm in the diversity project here in Medina, as you guys know, and I was impressed with some of the things we take for granted. I expected one kind of message to come from that group, and it wasn't that really at all. But I'm hoping that some of the things that I learned about that we can work together and continue to apply, and in our districts and in our community all around. I found that a very favorable session.
I'd just like to share with everyone the conference. It was a great weekend. The conference, it used to be a Monday, Tuesday, and a Wednesday affair. But this year they started it on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And I think it's so that the administrators could not have a third day from their districts. But I know a lot of us went down on Saturday because we had the girls and boys cross-country teams at the state championship. I know Becky went down to watch that. And then at night, that same day, but at the night, we went down. I know Rob was down there, and I saw a lot of the staff to watch the boys win the state championship in soccer. So that started off the weekend great. And then Sunday, we started classes, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And one of the classes I want to share that was really an eye-opener for me was the class was called The School Board's Role in Student Achievement. And the presenter was a former superintendent who is now a current board member on his third term in the same school district. And it was just so interesting because his take on the school board's role in student achievement is if the school board gets along and works together, okay, not like this, but like together, and they carry that with the superintendent and the treasurer. If we all work together, basically is what he's saying, the research shows that student achievement is higher in districts that have those relationships. And I thought that was interesting because it's measured on the testing and on the report cards. And I think you could take that a step further because we also have a great collaboration with the city. The mayor's, that's very important to the mayor. And because the city impacts our kids with a lot of things. So I know we all don't agree on everything, but we're 5 different people, but we work through it. And we have a great relationship with our superintendent. And I just felt like that guy that presented was, he never said this, but I just felt like as I'm sitting there, he's talking about us. He's talking about Medina. Because I think we're doing a lot of good things. And I think it's because of our relationship that we have. So that was kind of eye-opening for me. So then, but that was not the highlight of my conference experience. The highlight was, so I go to the Student Achievement Fair. They have this Student Achievement Fair where a lot of these districts, a lot of the school districts have booths, and they present some unique things that the districts are doing. And we had 2 of our buildings, Garfield Elementary, Ms. Karen McGinty, our principal, and Claggett. They were down there talking about their projects called the Makerspace. And it was so nice. I kind of stood off on the, off to the side, and I was watching all the other districts, the school board members and administrators, kind of asking our, I can't remember that guy's name, the Claggett fella, but no, I know Paul's the principal, but yeah, I know. I feel so bad. I can't remember his name. But, okay, Chad Gilmore. But it was so nice how he is just so passionate about his makerspace. And to hear him answer the questions from the other districts on what it is, how it started, how it's helping the kids. It was just so refreshing to see that. And some of the other districts, I think, might even adopt something like that. And I was talking to Karen earlier today, and I think we won an award down there for the Makerspace, one of 9, I think, school districts for that. So definitely congratulations to both Claggett and Garfield for presenting down there. And finally, and then I'll stop talking, 25 minutes, we're sitting up front, and our Encore Entertainment Company also presented at the Student Achievement Fair. And they did a 25-minute performance, and it was just lights out. When they were setting up, a lot of people were kind of milling around the Student Achievement Fair, but once they started singing and dancing on that stage. I turned around and I saw everybody at that Student Achievement Fair was focused on our kids. And people were standing, like standing room only, behind the tables where we were sitting. And it was, again, refreshing to see. And I just want to congratulate our Encore kids for a great program, Tyler Skidmore for directing that Encore. And once again, Medina shined. I mean, I know I'm a little biased, but I just, it was fantastic. And when the show was over, we were down there for Veterans Day. And so I saw a fellow with a veteran's hat on. And he was sitting there all by himself. So I'm a veteran, so I went up to him and I thanked him for his service. And he's on a school board down in Southeast Ohio. And right after the encore performance, we were talking, and he didn't know that I was on the school board for the Medina kids that just performed. And he shared with me that his school district does not give the kids that kind of an opportunity. And I was sitting there talking, and I just felt like what a shame that, for various reasons, the community support and whatever, but just what a shame that the kids don't have that down there. But on the other hand, how lucky we are to have it and to allow our kids these opportunities that we give them. So just want to thank our administrative staff for doing that, our community for supporting those programs, and for our staff, like Tyler and everybody, for stepping up and being the administrators and the coaches and the advisors of these groups. And that was my weekend. Thank you.
I sat in the same session with Ron and Doug. I believe you were in there as well. And one of the things that former superintendent slash board member now, the 12 characteristics of effective boards. And Ron, I think you hit the nail on the head, is that you felt that he was talking about Medina because Medina does do a lot of those that were on the list. So it's neat to take a look at the other ones that he suggests and see how we can incorporate that, into our board as well. I also had the opportunity to sit in on a lot of financial sessions so that I can, when I look at Dave's reports and the information that is he's communicating, and being able to better answer questions to any of the community members who might ask on that. And again, just sharing experiences, talking with board members from other communities, districts, asking them what they do, what works for them, what we could do better, because I know that there's always room for improvement. I know Medina does a great job, but we're always striving to be better. So it's a great opportunity, great experience. Again, I thank the district for supporting that, and it was a good time, very informational.
If I can have a quick redo, one thing I mentioned, or that I caught, and I ditto what Ron said, is it very, very astute observations. But we saw earlier the cross country, or the soccer team. We've seen some phenomenal other presentations, but we kind of glossed over the fact that weekend also had the girls cross country and the boys cross country do a phenomenal job at the state meet. I think the boys ended up 9th in the state and the girls 5th, and the 5th or 6th? 6th. Thank you. Phenomenal jobs for all the students, the families that have to support that driving to those places. Just want to commend them all on that.
I would like to echo all of that, and also thank the district for allowing us to go down to the conference. It is a very valuable experience. I attended several sessions related to board governance. Reminder that regardless of what a board member's special interest is, that we need to keep every child and every student in mind. That our role is to make policy, set policy, and to govern, and not to micromanage. We hire the best people, and we have to make sure that we have confidence in our people and give them the tools that they need to do their job. And I think we strive for that. So there were several legislative panels that were down there. So it was good to have that contact with the guys down in Columbus and see what's on their radar for this next year, what they have planned. They encouraged board members, administrators, and told us to go back and encourage our parents and teachers and everyone to contact your local legislators, that they want to hear from all of us, things that we like, things where we think could be improved. So that would be Senator Obhoff and Representative Hambley. So make sure that you let us know, but also feel free to contact them as well. They do want to hear from all of us. Oh, and speaking of there is collaboration, and it's good to meet with other boards to see, again, we compare notes, what we're doing, right, and things we could improve on. And I was speaking to a board member from another district who mentioned that his board meeting, their board only meets once a month, and their board meetings are 5 to 6 hours long. I think we're running a little over than we usually do here tonight, but it's been very good stuff. And one of the ways we are able to keep our board meetings not that long is we do have our work sessions, and we do a lot of the conversation and presentation and discussion at those work sessions. So I know sometimes it may seem like we're buzzing through this consent agenda and just, voting right away, but that's because we've done a lot of the legwork and discussion and research at that work session or during other meetings. So I just wanted to make sure that we communicate that as well. And we appreciate having those work sessions set up the way they are. We try not to have action items. Occasionally we do have to because of timing with personnel, but we really try to keep those truly work sessions. Those are still always open to the public, and they are audio recorded. So thank you all for your time. If that's all for board items, we can go ahead and move on to action items.
If it pleases the board, I'd like to present action item number 1. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve the October 2018 Treasurer's Report. Item number 2, resolution letter of arrangement. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve the resolution of arrangement between the local government services of the Office of the Auditor of State and the Medina City School District to conduct a compilation of the Medina City Schools finances for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020 and June 30th, 2021. Item number 3, supplemental to, let me go back through this resolution. The Auditor of State, they are going to be increasing their fees here come January with the new auditor coming in. And so we're locking in our fees for these 2 years. We already have a fee locked in for next fiscal year as well. So this will just lock us in at $11,000 over those 2 years as well. We have a supplemental to the 2018-2019 permanent appropriations. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve the following appropriations for the 2018-19 permanent appropriation. We have 2 items that I really want to hit on. You have your Title I. This is an increase from the government already. We're in November. It was October. We're in November. They're increasing Title I by $1,800. We also had a new fund come through. It's 6B restoration for preschool restoration, $11,566 or $11,656, 42. And if you have any questions on those, you'll have to talk to either Tina or Mina, because I have no idea what 6B restoration is for other than preschool. Questions other than that?
I have a motion first to approve these items.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Ms. Parkhurst, I would like to mention down at the OSBA, one of the sessions I sat in actually had a representative from the auditor's office there, from Dave Yost's, and we actually stepped through the audit report, and they were highlighting the different areas for the board to pay attention to and or explaining what those were. So that was neat.
I do want to highlight, Mr. Chambers did say this, but the letter of arrangement, the resolution for that is for a compilation, which is a separate kind of arrangement than an audit. There is an audit that is prepared by the state, but this is just to compile their financial statements into generally accepted accounting principle format. FASB, correct? Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay. Any from the public? Hearing none. Roll, please.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First item for tonight is donations. I'm thrilled to see such a lengthy list, especially midway into the school year. Shows you the amount of support that we receive from community organizations, businesses, as well as PTOs. It is recommended that the Board of Education accept the following donations to the Medina City Schools. I do want to point out a couple of these. First, we do have another donation on here of tourniquets to the high school for their safety buckets, which is a student council initiative at the high school. In addition, I'd like to point out that there's several donations towards Garfield and Claggett for their maker spaces, which has been discussed tonight. And I do have to say, we brought several community members and local businesses in to see those spaces. We're actually doing our next community chat over at Garfield, and we're going to talk a little bit about Garfield's makerspace, but we've seen a great amount of support from local businesses for those spaces and how they're preparing students. Number 2 is a resolution agreement with Healthcare Billing Services. It is recommended that the Board of Education approves the agreement between the Medina City School District and Healthcare Billing Services for providing Medicare consulting and billing services effective November 20th, 2018. Number 3 is a resolution for the Northrop Nature Trail Grant. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the resolution for the Medina City School District to apply for financial assistance for the Northrop Nature Trail under the Land and Water Conservation Fund program. And this is, as we discussed at the last work session, this is for the trail that connects to Reagan Park behind Northrop. This is an item that was originally within the plans of the building to allow for another safety escape route, as well as to expand parking at Northrop. At the time, a decision due to funding concerns was made to not move forward. Well, we're prepared to start exploring and moving forward with that program again. Per the board's request, we've spent some time, and I'd like to thank the city and Dr. Kwolek for their work in looking at funding opportunities per the request of our board, and they were able to find a grant, which we're in the process of applying for. In order for this grant to be submitted, it needs to be approved by the Board of Education as well as City Council. Even though the board and the school district are paying for this initiative, it is actually city land which the trail would be built on. That's why they need dual approval. But we're hoping to be able to earn some extra financial support in making that trail a reality.
Can I chime in real quick just with that? Part of the facilities committee is where some of this was discussed too, and definitely, the lead to get the, was done with the city, and Dr. Kwolek did great work with that. But I wanted to mention Jeff Brandon, who sits on that committee. He's the trustee in Montville Township, and he suggested, hey, there's probably some grants for this. And so it was another good use of committee and how the collaboration there works with that, and you all took it and ran with it. So we appreciate all the hard work on that. Thank you.
Number 4 is a resolution agreement with Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the agreement to enter into the Expedited Local Partnership Program, the ELPP, with the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. Little explanation here. The OFCC, or Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, provide financial support as well as other supports in terms of overview of facilities, planning, as well as enrollment projections for any type of building projects that impact students. As you know, we've discussed the potential opportunity of a future bond. Nothing has been decided in terms of a bond, but we do have to make sure we follow some preliminary steps to ensure that we're making the right decision as to whether we should be going for a bond. Part of that does include feedback and committees from our community as well as our staff. Those parts will be coming in the not too distant future. By meeting with the OFCC, we learned that our district is eligible for some financial support from the state of Ohio in terms of building projects. We are considered a wealthy district, so the support that they are willing to provide us is a little lower than some other districts. However, we are eligible for somewhere between 25 to 28% reimbursement. In order to be eligible for that reimbursement, we have to the board has to approve a resolution to work with the OFCC. which is what this resolution is for. I do want to be transparent, and we were advised that funding would not be available for Medina City Schools for 6 to 8 years. That's how long the waiting list is for funding currently in Ohio. With the ELPP and this commitment, it does not mean that we have to necessarily wait 6 to 8 years to put a bond up or to move forward with potential construction. It just means that the OFCC won't reimburse us until that time period. What the OFCC will do, though, prior to that 6 to 8 years, once this resolution is approved, they will come in and start working with the district to do some of the things I had already mentioned in terms of looking at our enrollment, as well as doing tours and making recommendations for all of our facilities. Just to clarify, and I think I mentioned this before, but the impetus to even move forward with this is number one, Claggett Middle School. We want to make sure we're offering top facilities for our students to learn in. Claggett does need a little bit of work. One of the big things for me is the trailers that our students still attend class in. From a safety perspective, as well as an ideal learning environment, they are not best. So that's one of the buildings I would like the OFCC to focus on in the report. In addition, we have received concerns from community members as well as staff members in regards to our buildings that do not currently have air conditioning. And we actually had to I closed school for a day this year due to extreme temperatures in those buildings because of the environment and the safety of the environment in those buildings. The third piece is safety. Safety is always a priority for our district. However, with anything, there's some financial constraints as we're trying to make upgrades and updates to our facilities in regards to safety. And in terms of a bond issue, that's another piece that I'd like to explore. Again, all three of these topics are ideas. We need more collaboration, feedback, and input before any decisions are made. I do project that we're looking at a potential phased or more long-term plan. And when I say long-term, I mean the next 1 to 5 years in order to move forward with any of these initiatives. I don't want to go out and ask our community for any money if they don't think it's appropriate for us to doing that. And that's something we really do need to look at. One thing that has, and this was already on our radar, but I think it's made it, brought even more importance to it, but the redistricting piece to this whole process, and it interrelates with potential building. But we are having very preliminary discussions in terms of some redistricting. We are currently unbalanced in our buildings. We're seeing a great amount of growth on the north and south ends. That's at our 2 new buildings, Waite and Northrop. Both of them are approaching capacity. We have a need to move our preschool programming into another location where there's more adequate room. In addition, we need to look at balancing some enrollment numbers so they're more evenly distributed across the district. I think a great thing about our district is also something that makes it hard when we're talking about student enrollment, and it's a great place to live, so people stay. So some of our older communities, we see children aging out of the schools, but the families are staying, so we're not seeing as many new students enrolling in some of our more established communities. And that's one of the things that the OFCC is going to help us look at and explore as we move forward, and we continue to have ongoing discussions, which we are going to involve the community and the staff in terms of not only the building, but also the redistricting within Medina City Schools. And I know that was a lot, but I want to make sure the information's out. Number 5, award bid for radios. It is recommended that the Board of Education accept the bid from Motorola Solutions in the amount of $129,837,000 for the replacement of 2-way radios in the transportation department. I do want to clarify with the board that this was not initially an expense we are planning on heading into this school year. We do have a normal rotation in regards to where these types of items, such as radios, need to be replaced and upgraded. We are nearing that time. It makes sense to me to make this recommendation at this time because the city police department actually is in the process of moving forward, if they haven't already completed, upgrading and replacing their radios. We have an opportunity to jump in and collaborate with them, which means about a $50,000 savings to the district in these radios than if we did it on our own. In addition to that, I do have some safety concerns regarding our current radio system, that being that we do have dead spots throughout the district. This is going to allow for better coverage across the district. The sheriff's office is allowing us for free to jump onto their radio towers. Again, another example of a collaboration, which is going to actually expand our reach. And I know Rob Travis has been working very closely with Chief McKinney, and I know they verified that some of the dead spots we were experiencing are no longer going to be an issue with this upgrade if approved. Number 6 is calendars for the 2019-20, 2020-21, and 21-22. Amazes me I'm reading those dates. These calendars were created through our district calendar committee in collaboration with staff. I do want to point out that these calendars are very similar in structure to this year's current calendar in terms of the professional development days and also the early releases, which we've limited going into the school year. I know our parents are going to be very appreciative to have 3 years out of calendars. It's something that they've been asking for. So when you're looking 3 years out, yes, there's a possibility we may be back to you with a few adjustments, but this is generally where we'll be in terms of district calendars moving forward. And my computer's frozen. This is why you bring paper, right? For some reason, nothing's loading all of a sudden. Field trips. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following overnight field trips in compliance with Policy 2340 for the 2018-2019 school year. These are normal field trips that our student organizations have taken in the past. The first is for Encore to Beaver Creek, Ohio. The second is Antipiqua and also Fort Wayne, Indiana. The second is for student council leadership to go to Chicago for a workshop. And finally, for our softball team to go to Pigeon Forge for some of their spring games. All of the appropriate paperwork is submitted as part of this recommendation. None of these are costs directly to the district. They're all supported through booster organizations, whether it's athletics or music, as well as the financial support of the individual families and parents. Number 8 is stipend payments. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the stipend payments to Kathleen Kramer and Douglas Baker in the amount of $200 each for being cooperating teachers for a Kent State University student during the fall 2018. Number 9, Medina Community Recreation. I'm sorry. Okay, I was jumping ahead. I thought I was at 13. Medina Community Recreation Center sponsors approval. We have another sponsor being recommended through the Rec Center Advisory Board. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following sponsor for the Medina Community Recreation Center, which is scheduled upon approval to go on to the track railing. And this is for a local realty firm, and I know this is an item that will need City Council approval as well if it hasn't already received it. Number 10 is a change order for Perrin Asphalt Company. This is something that we've discussed as this project has moved forward, but this is related to our tennis courts. Due to what was found during construction in terms of the drainage underneath the old asphalt as the tennis courts were being replaced, some additional work needed to be done and this was discussed through the facilities committee to ensure that this project was done properly and was going to be long lasting. Some adjustments needed to be made in terms of providing drainage that costs additional dollars in order to make that happen. In order to complete and pay for this project, we need to do a change order on that project since it's an increased amount from what was originally presented. Number 11, agreement, students placed at Evolve Academy. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the agreement that students placed at Evolve Academy will be provided educational services by the Medina City Schools for the district listed, Norwayne Local Schools. Again, that is a self-supportive program over there at Evolve, so it's a good thing to see that we've got another participating district. Number 12, service agreement. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following service agreement for the 18-19 school year. And this is for Achievement Advantage Assessment, and this is for special ed services for Medina students per the requirements of their IEPs for the remainder of the 2018-2019 school year. Number 13, I'm going to move over because that's been separated out. Number 14 is substitute rate increase. In order to ensure compliance with an upcoming increase in the Ohio minimum wage, it is recommended the Board of Education, effective January 1st, 2019, approve the substitute rate for cafeteria servers be changed from $8.30 to $8.55 per hour. In addition, in order to avoid wage compression and to maintain a competitive position, the following substitute rate increases are also recommended for the cafeteria cook from $8.50 to $8.80, temporary summer crew from $8.50 to $9, and substitute bus driver from $16.50 to $17. I do want to point out that the substitute bus driver increase is going to help us maintain competitiveness with surrounding districts. There is a shortage of bus drivers across the state, so we need to do what we can to recruit and to bring on the best substitute bus drivers that we can. Number 15, clubs and extracurricular activities for the 18-19 school year. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the Medina City School District's clubs and extracurricular activities for the 18-19 school year as listed below. A couple things that I would like to point out here. The first is that our current athletics that are recognized by the board within the athletic department are not included in this list. They don't need to be. They're already board approved, and the board also approves the individual coaching hires through those organizations. These clubs are actually separate from those organizations. Most, if not all of them, have volunteers or individuals that are paid through boosters and or through fundraising to coordinate these organizations. All these clubs allow for more opportunities for our students. The reason why I'm recommending them to you is because I want to ensure that they're covered under the district's insurance policy as they proceed. This is something that I would anticipate will regularly occur, probably at a summer board meeting on an annual basis. The other thing I do want to point out as well, because I made a change to the agenda this morning, but at one time I did have a packet attached that included explanations of these organizations, and removed that and just listed the organizations because I know it created some confusion. The intent was not to have the board approve the descriptions and things like that, but just simply to recognize these organizations so that they're covered through our insurance. And the last item in the consent agenda is personnel. Nothing particularly big to point out here. We do have several volunteers on the agenda, and I would like to thank our communications department for being on top of that. We've had a real strong effort to ensure that all of our volunteers are board approved over the last several years, as well as our volunteers are background checked and safe to be working with our students. We also have several home instruction tutors, and these home instruction tutors are if needed. Typically, home instruction tutors are utilized when a student is on a home medical leave or something like that, where we need to continue to provide them with their free education, and there's legitimate reasons why they cannot be in school.
Can I make a motion to approve the superintendent action items as mentioned?
I'll second that.
Any board comments or discussion?
Not to add any more length to tonight, I did want to make a couple of comments. One, I wanted to really express appreciation for staff going after the grants for that walkway. That's been a challenge for us as a board for some time, and I think that was fantastic that you put the efforts in. So for those involved in that, I say thank you very much. Also, collaboration between the county and our maintenance supervisor, Steve, allowed us to actually save $20,000 or nearly so on the tennis court, just by working together to find a location to lose some of that material that they had to remove from the courts. And so, as unfortunate as that change order was, thankful that we live in a community that people can work together to help us out. So I just want to make those.
I just had a calendar question. You may have answered it, Mr. Sable. When we do the calendars, there's 3 years worth of school calendars, 3 years worth of the calendar. Do we talk to the other districts to stay in line with them, and including the Career Center, or does that matter?
You know, that's actually a really good question, and I did not mention that, at least not tonight. But yes, we do collaborate with other districts as well as the Career Center. It's actually a huge challenge because when we're working with the Career Center serves districts across Medina County, so them trying to balance all of our calendars and that's why sometimes, you know, people have questions, well, why aren't we doing this with the calendar? Why aren't we doing that? It's because the complexity of putting that calendar together to try and align those calendars as best we can is really a challenge. We put most of our energies into working with Brunswick as well as the Career Center. Just the reality of us two being the two biggest districts, we have a tendency to kind of drive the direction that goes. I do want to point out that Brunswick is actually going to be on an altered calendar for several years due to their construction of their new middle school. They have to move back some of their start dates and things like that. That's not going to impact us and our calendars. That's something that they have to do individually as a district.
I just also wanted to thank Chief Kinney and the city for the collaboration with the radios. We do appreciate that. There's lots of collaboration. That's just another area, example of that, and we appreciate that. Also, I wanted to mention, I know we've mentioned the makerspace several times this evening, but I did want to remind everyone that's part of our strategic plan to provide additional IBL, did I get that acronym right? Interactive-based learning opportunities to our students, and we're thankful that Mrs. McGinty and Mr. Worsenscroft wanted to lead those pilot programs at Claggett and Garfield, and we're hoping that we will be able to roll those out to all of the other buildings. So thank you. There's no other questions or comments from the board. Are there any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, roll please.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
And the next action item, and I'm back up and running. It looks like Chris updated the agenda. Thank you. It is recommended that the Board of Education appoint Joe Magnaca to serve as the interim delegate in place of John Burkhart, representing the Medina City Schools on the Medina Community Recreation Center Advisory Board. It is also recommended that the Board of Education acknowledge the 3 members of the Recreation Center Advisory Committee selected by majority vote of the 2 appointed city members and 2 appointed school members as follows: Jane Anderson, Tina Sable, and Suzanne Swain. I do want to point out that while John is on his leave, we wanted to make sure that we had an additional voting member, and Joe, with his experience in working with rec centers through the Wadsworth City Schools and the assistance he's been providing us throughout the past several months, I thought it was important to make sure we have another voting voice on that committee until John's return, especially with some of the discussion that we're currently having with expansion and taking a look at the joint operating agreement again.
I had asked for this to be separated out.
Can I make a motion first to accept this item?
I make a motion to accept this item.
Second.
Thank you. Any board discussion?
I have discussion. I had asked for this to be separated out. A couple of reasons. One, I don't have an issue with acknowledging the 3 members that are appointed by the current rec advisory board. I don't have an issue with that. But I think when we look at representing the district, I just feel that we have people that, you know, are currently available that are part of the board. And I would be happy to recommend Valerie Pavlik to serve as our one of our I know Dr. Kwalik is one of our representatives currently. It's my understanding these are 3-year terms. From, you know, I pulled out the agreement today to read it again, and these are 3-year terms. And the agreement does provide that the district is entitled to appoint from time to time non-voting ex officio members. So that's an item D of the agreement. So that's where I think it would be appropriate for the business manager of the district, and I believe Mr. Joe Magnaca is currently our, you know, interim person in that position. So I mean, I think when you appoint somebody, I guess the question is, are they starting a new 3-year term? I think the intent here is to have this person fill in for Mr. Burkhart. It's not clear that he has resigned his position as our representative on there, but I know he's been unavailable to serve this fall. So my feeling would be that we should have somebody who lives locally, and Valerie is an elected board member who lives locally, who's a consumer of the rec center, who goes there and has been doing a great job on the board. And I think we used to have 2 board members. I know Mr. Ross served for many years, and so did Mr. Cahallen. And I think it's been good that we've been getting help from the administration to make sure that we're honoring the terms of this agreement and getting out of it what we're supposed to do and doing our responsibilities that we're supposed to do. And I think it's been good that we've had more attention from the administration recently with it. But I do think that that having board, and I do think that this is something that relates directly to the board. The board appoints to represent who's going to represent the board. And I think there's certain things that the administration decides who will do what, who will be appointed. If we're hiring a principal or something, the administration decides that and recommends that. But I think when the board is deciding how to organize the board, that's at a certain level, and I believe this rises to that level. And I think the board should have that say on who they put in that position. And nothing against Mr. Magnaca. I think everything he's doing a great job as our business manager at this point. I think he's done a phenomenal job dealing with whether it's the tennis contract or whether it's the work that's been done at the bus garage too. So thank you.
I just wanted to comment. I know we used to have board members. Tom and I were on, like Mr. Skidmore mentioned, we were on the rec center board. And then we brought Aaron in, and Aaron came up with an initiative to have John and Chris as the representatives on the rec center. And at first, I wasn't supportive of the idea, but now that it's in place, I am very supportive because of what they bring to the table, their experience and knowledge, because they're in the buildings every day. And they bring a lot of information to that committee. And I go to the meetings as the ex officio member. And so, and it's a learning process, but as the board representative. But what Chris and Joe bring, and John did before he went on medical leave, was a lot of information that Tom nor I could provide to that committee. So I think it's very useful to have them. And then the committee, actually, we don't vote on a lot of things. Well, we haven't voted on hardly anything. And then we're going to recommend things to the school board to vote. And then they're going to recommend, then we're going to recommend things to the city council.
Yeah, I just don't think it's a good idea to have our employees sitting on boards that are spending money. I just don't. I think that's the board's job and the board's job to a point. I don't think we should have our employees on those, but that's my opinion. But I understand where you're coming from, Ron.
Ron, I think what Rob is stating is that I hear what you're saying about the board, but in essence, because this has been a little bit of a conversation today, the purpose of the committee is to work through disputes between the city and district and make recommendations to city council and BOE. So while the two board members, you know, there's been some, they were removed from the committee, but by putting John and Chris on there, they're the district. So I guess it's muddy, it's very muddy waters to what the JOA defines and what is currently in place. And I believe that's where Rob brought up the concerns.
I know when we made the switch before, part of my understanding was we had two board members on a board who could potentially make a recommendation that then they would be sitting on, 2 of 5 on this panel. And the concern was more of a, is it really right that two of the 5 already approve of something or want something? They're coming onto a panel of 5. They really only have to have one more person. Trying to stay above the fray, do we remove that? That being said, I do like the idea of representation. I appreciate you being at that position and doing a good job there. I think it warrants further conversation to what that looks like, whether we do put one person back on there. Possibly, I wouldn't want 2 people back on there for that purposes I just mentioned. But maybe there is conversation when we make new committees. Even that's only 2 months away, January. So that would be a thought. Between now and then, we can get re-educated on why we did what we did a couple years ago. Does that make sense at all? Just a thought.
I agree that probably makes good sense to have additional conversation. That was, I think Mr. Callan was still on the board when we initially started those conversations about these board committee assignments. And to clarify, the Recs Advisory Committee doesn't really spend money per se. It's very limited to the JOA. What comes out of that joint capital fund is to be for capital improvements. They're not just spending money.
I would say there
willy-nilly,
are some
so.
things that are spent, though, that don't necessarily go back to the city or go back to the school board. There definitely are funds expended that are checks that are written to operate and so forth, and reports given to that advisory board. And not everything rises to the level but I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't think not everything rises to the level the board has to vote on it. But I do think that there's day-to-day operations that they would have that advisory But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thank you. The day-to-day operations is in control of the city because they operate the rec center. So the purpose of the rec advisory board, from what I understand, again, is to review those statements, the spending, but again, the day-to-day is from the city, and it's just that joint capital improvement fund, and it is limited within the JOA. It does specify what it can be used for. So if you're saying that it's being used for something that it's not intended to, that's a different issue. Is that what you're saying?
No, no, that's not what I said at all. But what I'm saying is that it does provide a function, and I don't think it's wise for the district to have our employees that work for the board sitting on that board. I think that board should be appointed by people that aren't our employees. I think there's more conflicts that could arise by having our employees sit on there than having 2 appointed board members.
Well, again, I think that we've agreed that it's a good time to have additional conversation. Per the JOA, we're permitted, as well as the city, to appoint whoever we want to fill those positions. Any other conversation from the board? Any comments from the public? Oh, please.
Mr. Eastwood.
No, you're fine. Thank you, Mayor.
So the rec advisory, the city has a very robust approval method for all expenditures, not just for the rec center, but across the board. So a department head can't spend more than $1,500 without coming to a board of control, which is the law director, the service director, myself, the finance director, and I'm missing one. Law director, service director, finance director, myself, council president, thank you. Up to 15,000. 15,000 goes to finance, 25,000 goes to bid, because we didn't change when the state law did. So the rec advisory is not approving expenditures. They're making recommendations to come back to this board and to come back to our board. And I won't offer a legal opinion. I'll leave that to Mr. Shields and Mr. Huber, but I see a direct conflict of interest, which is why the city doesn't have council members sitting on the rec advisory board, for a board to approve it at the rec advisory level and then come back to this board to approve it again. Thank you.
I appreciate the point that was made, but I guess the question would be if the city had their employees put on the board, would that be a conflict of interest? And that's kind of what we're doing. We're putting our employees on there. So if there's a conflict, if the board would serve, there would surely be a conflict if our employees would serve, in my opinion.
But aren't members of the committee, because Mike, right? You are a city. You're not a member?
I just report.
Okay. Who are the
three there?
well, those are the three community.
Keith Soy and Laura Namath, who's been on the board since day one.
Okay.
And then just know, like any capital improvements, it's, sorry. He's not. No, years ago. So the capital spreadsheet is something that's approved through the rec advisory board. Capital spreadsheet is how expenditures come out of the capital improvement budget. I have to take that capital spreadsheet after the rec advisory board approves it, take it to finance and council to get a PO in place to pay you when you invoice us. So when, say the roof project, you guys get billed and you bill us half, that comes to me. We sign off, the mayor signs off, then it goes to council and or to finance for payment out of that PO we already set aside for you. The only time this hasn't happened is in projects like the LED project, which we didn't know what the amount was until afterwards. So that's one of the things we're actually looking more into too, so to make sure that big projects like that get discussed first, added to the spreadsheets so they're accurate, the totals, and then we talk about it. The parking lot project last year was $135,000. It wasn't originally, as parking lot is on the spreadsheet, but it wasn't set at $135,000. So that's something we're going to look at more in detail. Thank you.
And just to add a couple things. My opinion is I agree with the mayor as well. I'm concerned about a conflict of interest for board members sitting, since ultimately you're making the final decision. But also, I hope you have faith and confidence in the jobs that I do, as well as my fellow administrators in terms of leading and operating the district. And one of my goals has been, since coming here, has been to increase communication and interaction with the board on all matters. And I hope you've seen that, including the operation of the rec center. And a couple years ago, when I made the recommendation to put 2 district employees on that rec center committee, and at that time, I think it was my first year, and I was going to the rec center committee to sit in as superintendent. I felt like there was a disconnect between the school district and what was happening through that rec center committee at the time. And by having individuals who are directly involved with regular maintenance decisions and things like that with the rec center, I just thought that district administrators would be able to provide more feedback and information in regards to the discussion that's happening at that rec center committee. I do want to emphasize, though, that I am listening to all of your feedback, and the message that we have going into those rec center advisory committees is with feedback from the board in discussions that we either have individually or that we have during work or board sessions. So I'd encourage, if there's thought of going a different direction in regards to the rec center that we haven't been doing, I would just request that the board notify me, and we'll work through it no matter who those members are on that committee.
And I do appreciate that we do receive the minutes regularly, and we did not always receive those when we did have 2 board members. So we are getting all of the information that provided to us in a timely manner.
So tonight we're voting on Joe and Chris's appointment, or are we gonna? Okay, just Joe.
It's putting Joe into the position on an interim basis. The board had voted John Burkhart
Right.
as a member, I think this past summer, but he's currently out on a leave.
Right, okay. But is there thoughts of delaying this vote because of our discussion, or no, just continuing with it? Okay.
It's just an interim position at this point. It gets us our second seat and keeps some consistency.
And we said we would reappoint in January when we have our committee assignments, so we can have discussion between now and then.
Is there precedence to do an interim? Because we're calling it, the motion calls him an interim delegate, which I don't know what that is, but I mean, is he one of our 2 representatives to that board? And will it be indefinitely, or will it be to fulfill Mr. Burkhart's 3-year term? Because it's a 3-year term, according to the agreement. So there's some things that aren't in there. I don't know.
I would think as an interim, he's there until such time as John can come back, or if it's some other situation. So
And my understanding of the JOA, and Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the city nor the board appointed members are on term limits. I think they're appointed by the board and by the city as deemed necessary, and the term limited positions are the 3 that are voted on amongst the city and the board representatives sitting on the community. So I think the board has the flexibility on an annual basis of reappointing those positions if you so choose.
Would it be helpful to add into the recommended action to complete the term through the end of the year? And that way we would have our more discussion and have our new appointments in January. Does that make sense?
I think so. There's just, the agreement itself doesn't have provisions for filling somebody temporary. And normally somebody would resign and then we would fill that position. So this is.
But
Yeah.
historically, we had, as a board, appointed those each year. That was
Right,
our precedent.
But we have never, I'm not aware of us having an interim delegate, so I don't know. Maybe Mr. Shields recalls that it's been done in the past, but I don't remember that the district had that. So we want to make sure that whoever we go there has a vote and so forth, that they have, that they're properly seated so that they have a vote. So that's another issue. I mean, I guess we have a work session coming up within just a matter of a week or two. We could get it looked at a little bit more clearly to make sure that it's correct, whether or not get a determination of whether it is a 3-year term or whether it's appointed year to year, which I think has been our practice, but I think the agreement says that they're 3-year terms. So I know we're trying to follow the agreement more closely. as part
Rob,
of
what
this.
page was that on that you pointed so I can look at it?
It's page 23 and 24, and I'm seeing in the agreement here that says, in regards to a vacancy, it doesn't talk about interim, but if there's a vacancy, that position should be appointed by whichever entity, right?
So Becky was saying if we could have this as a interim through the end of 2018, that would allow us to have that conversation and see where we go moving forward when the committees are made. That allows us to have somebody on the seat.
Fulfill
now.
our requirement of having someone on.
I mean, I'd like
as
to have
the
somebody on the
agreement
seat
says.
for now. And that if we go through 2018, then we can make that adjustment. Are we allowed to make that change?
And perhaps we take out the words interim delegate to serve in place of John Burkhart representing the board. Any other comments?
I don't know if there's a lot of haste. I think you ought to just delay it till we vote in December at our work session. But we have a motion and a second, so I guess we could go ahead and vote, but.
I'd like to make a motion to change our recommended action based on the discussion that we've just had.
I make a motion to change. Second, thank you.
Okay,
Wh-
I'd like
what
to
are you
make
seconding?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the Board of Education appoint Joe Magnacca to serve in place of John Burkhart as representative of the Medina City Schools on the Medina Community Recreation Center Advisory Board. Continuing, it is also recommended that the Board of Education acknowledge the 3 members of the Rec Center Advisory Committee selected by majority vote of the 2 appointed city members and 2 appointed school members as follows: Jane Anderson, Tina Sable, and Suzanne Swain. And that will be through the end of 2018.
I can second that.
Questions or comments from the board?
So we're going to vote on the first one and then vote on the second one. Is that your understanding? The second one first? Okay, thank you.
Questions or comments from the public? Okay. It's a good thing I took that class at OSBA on how to do motions, right?
God, I didn't take that class. Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Is it possible for me to abstain because?
An abstain is a no.
Abstain.
Mr. Skidmore.
No.
And Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Now you go back to your original.
Now we're going to call roll for the original motion.
Mr. Eastwood.
Nay.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Abstain.
Mr. Skidmore.
No.
And Ms. Parkhurst.
No.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you. We've reached the point in the board meeting for public participation. It does not appear that anyone had signed in to speak, but if anyone would like to. Okay, I will read the rules. Attendees, please come to the podium. Please state your name, address, and affiliation. Please keep comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic unless all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard, and all statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. Let me come up to the podium.
Good evening, board members. My name is Karen Saliker. My daughter, Jenna Saliker, senior at the Career Center. Address, you need full address or? Okay, 3651 Autumn Tree Drive, Medina. We are proud Medina family, but we did receive a letter from the high school that was very upsetting, not only to our family, but I'm sure to many other Medina families. And that letter is from the high school, but it does address the graduation points. So my daughter does not have her graduation points yet. And I know that the board does not make the ruling with the state test, although I did make up, and Jenna, would you hand these out? I don't expect you to take this test this evening, and the answer key is on the back, but these are 3 problems that are on the ACT Work Keys test. Jenna has a struggle with math. She is on an IEP for math, and I just wanted to give you guys a face here, sample problems that I think are challenging. Why we are here this evening is it is our understanding that it's the board's decision to put the December deadline to earn the graduation points for a child to participate in commencement. And I'm not just speaking for my daughter. She's at the Career Center. Chances are she will get that 1 point she's missing by December. So chances are she'll be okay, but in talking with the counselor at Medina High School, this is not the case for many other students. And I know there are some students that don't care about commencement and participating, but there are many including my daughter, who has worked very hard to earn that achievement to be able to participate in commencement. So I'd like the board to reconsider that December deadline. You are creating a lot of stress on these kids, tremendous anxiety, stress, and I would like to just ask collectively, all of you, what is the lesson you are trying to teach these kids with this December deadline? I don't know if you can comment on that, but I would like to know what lesson they're going to learn with the December deadline.
I want you to know that I actually just received your letter today, read it this afternoon, and haven't had a chance to reach out to you yet. I'd like to suggest that maybe you and I get an opportunity to get together and your daughter and meet and talk. I don't think there's any intentions of teaching any lessons through graduation requirements, and I would even go as far as saying that we are all on your side, including Mr. Harrison there in the back, and we are frustrated, and I can speak on behalf of superintendents across the state, are frustrated with the state currently because of the lack of pathways for students to be eligible for
12
graduation.
to 3, I'm fully aware.
And that's something that individual school boards don't set. That minimum is actually set by the state school board as well as our local legislators. And I want you to know, as well as our other parents, that we are active advocates in working with our legislators as well as working with the Ohio Department of Education in order to get a resolution to these graduation requirements. We were just down in Columbus, as you heard, this past week, and I can tell you it's been part of the conversation down there. One of the current delays in terms of this process is the fact that we're going to have turnover in terms of our governor. And I have been directly told by legislators that while we're in lame duck, no decisions will be made. Last year, decisions were made prior to January because we weren't in this position. I'm hoping now that Governor-elect DeWine has been starting to make that transition to office. I've been told by many people that he's very education focused. And that this concern is going to be immediately addressed. Because you're absolutely right. We have many students who are in a position of being at risk of not graduating because of the system that's been set up by the state of Ohio. And I'm getting a little political here, but how does that speak to the state's confidence in individual districts and individual boards to make decisions on the preparedness of our students? And I can tell you that our students can compete with anybody across this country, or I would even say across this world, in terms of the academics that they're receiving and the approval that our board gives upon graduation. As we see changes in graduation requirements, which I'm sure hoping is going to happen come January, I can promise you that we are going to be working with families to allow students to participate in that graduation ceremony. It's not right when it's not their fault to be in this position, but it's something that's been set into motion due to state policy and regulations.
But the December deadline, from what I understand, is you guys. That's not the state. Am I incorrect?
I'm telling you, don't worry about a December deadline.
Well, I am worried. I have this letter, and it very clearly states December. So that's what I'm asking is, why is it December? Why cause all this stress and anxiety when graduation is in May? I don't understand the December deadline.
Yeah, one of the reasons why deadlines are set into place is because, believe it or not, planning for graduation actually starts occurring mid-year. Technically, none of our students, or I should say very few, we do have some that have worked ahead, but very few of our students are actually eligible and ready to graduate come December. They still have a whole another semester of school to complete. What we try to be very diligent on is communication with our parents and families in terms of making them aware if we have any students that are at risk. And even if a student is only a little bit at risk, we want to make sure that the families and students are aware so that we can collaborate to address the situation. And I believe that that was the intent of these letters. And if you meet all the graduation requirements and feel like you're not given the opportunity to participate in our ceremony, I want you to personally reach out to me.
Okay, thank you.
I do want to just mention that I think on behalf of the board, we want all of our students to be successful and we want them to be able to participate in commencement. We are extremely frustrated by the situation that has been caused down at the state level with not providing these alternative pathways that we did have last year. So we are working, as Mr. Sable said, the superintendents meet with the legislators regularly, the board, we're all trying to work to get this resolved. So I understand. I understand. I understand. Thank you. If there's no other public participation, I make a motion that we move to executive session to consider the employment and compensation of a public employee or official, to consider the purchase of property for public purposes or the sale of property at competitive bidding, if premature disclosure of information would give an unfair, competitive, or bargaining advantage to a person whose personal or private interest is adverse to the general public interest, for discussion with board's legal counsel of disputes involving the board that are the subject of pending or imminent court action, and for preparation for conducting or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. I do not anticipate us taking any action when we return.
I second that.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. Thanks also to the city guys for sticking around, and have a good night.